Look at the mold. I'm suffocating in here. I yelled into the phone, pressing it so hard to my ear it felt like I could force my landlord to finally listen. A wet stain spread across the ceiling, dripping water onto the old carpet, leaving dark circles. The smell of dampness and rot was so thick it seemed like I could scoop it with a spoon. For this home, I was paying $1,800 a month, nearly half my paycheck. In Brooklyn, people even said I was lucky to find a place at that price. When I signed the lease, the apartment looked decent, freshly painted walls, windows overlooking a quiet street where kids played. But within a week, I realized it was all just a mask. The first red flag was the heating. It never turned on. The landlord reassured me, "Don't worry, it's still warm, heating season hasn't started yet." I believed him. In October the evenings were cool but manageable. I layered sweaters, wrapped myself in an old blanket, and told myself, I'll get through it, any day now the heat will come on. But when November brought sharp cold, the apartment turned into a freezer. In the mornings I woke up and could see steam coming from my mouth. A thin layer of frost spread across the window glass. A cup of water left on the kitchen counter stayed icy, as if it had just come out of a refrigerator. I started calling my landlord every single day. Sometimes he answered, sounding bored, yeah, I'll send someone tomorrow. No one ever came. Other times, he snapped, it's not urgent. It can wait. Wait? My hands shook when I typed on my laptop because the keys felt like ice. I coughed more and more, waking up at night wheezing. Then came the dampness. At first, it was just a small stain in the corner of the bedroom. I thought maybe the upstairs neighbor spilled something. I bought bleach, put on gloves, scrubbed it away until the wall looked clean. But within days, the spot returned, larger, darker, carrying a stench. I called the landlord again, "Do you understand there's black mold in here? This is dangerous to my health." He laughed, "Son, all New York apartments are old. A little mold never killed anyone." Those words burned into my memory. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall where the black stain was slowly spreading. For the first time, I felt real anger. I almost cried from frustration. I worked 12-hour shifts just to afford this place. I had chosen this neighborhood because it was safe to walk home at night. I dreamed of finally living in peace. Instead, I got a cold, rotting cage that drained my strength with every breath. Neighbors complained too. On the staircase one woman whispered to me, "Don't waste your nerves. He never fixes anything." We just got used to it. But I didn't want to get used to it. I couldn't. Coming home became torture. The moment I opened the door, a heavy, sticky smell of dampness hit me in the face, seeping into my clothes and hair. I started photographing the walls, the ceiling, the water droplets on the windowsills. I kept notes, marked dates. I didn't know exactly why at the time, but deep inside, I felt this story wouldn't end with a simple complaint. One night I woke up to a strange sound, drip, drip, drip. A whole river had formed under the ceiling, water trickling onto my wardrobe. I scrambled to slide a bucket underneath. I stood there in my pajamas, listening to the water fall rhythmically against the metal bottom. And I thought, what am I paying $1,800 for? For cold, mold, and midnight floods? I called my landlord again, voice trembling with anger and desperation. "Do you want me to die in here? My lungs are giving out. Do something." He snorted, "If you don't like it, move out." I lowered the phone and realized something inside me had snapped. This was the point of no return. I woke up more and more often in the middle of the night coughing. My throat burned, my chest felt like it was tied with a belt. I stumbled into the kitchen for a glass of water, but even there I couldn't escape it. The smell of mold was everywhere. It seeped into the furniture, the clothes, even into the food. Another dark stain had appeared on the bedroom ceiling, and now I slept right beneath it, listening for every sound. Sometimes a drop would fall onto my pillow inches from my face. I'd flinch and roll over, but sleep never came back. I lay there in the dark thinking, how much longer can I live like this? During the day, nothing was better. The cold sank into my bones, even when I left the oven door open to heat the room. Neighbors downstairs told me they did the same thing. We laughed about it, but it was a nervous laugh, the kind that hides despair. One evening after work, I opened the door and froze. A puddle spread across the living room floor. From the ceiling, right next to the chandelier, a thin stream of water trickled down. I grabbed a pot, then a bowl, then a bucket. By the end of the night, my apartment was filled with the rhythm of dripping water. Drip. 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 A constant, maddening symphony. I called my landlord again. This time, I completely lost it. Do you hear me? Water is pouring from my ceiling. I can't live in this hell. His reply was cold and flat. If it's that bad, find another place. No one's forcing you to stay. I clenched my fists so tight my nails dug into my palms. Find another place, easy for him to say. In New York, every apartment cost a fortune, and I could barely afford this miserable cave. I sat down at the table and began writing everything out, the dates of my calls, his replies, the photos of stains, the videos of dripping water. One thought circled in my head, if he thinks I'll just give up, he's wrong. Meanwhile, the mold had spread to the kitchen. Black streaks grew where the wall met the ceiling, crawling further every day like something alive. I taped over the cracks, scrubbed with bleach, but it always came back, stronger. Sometimes the very air felt thicker, heavier. My health was getting worse. I coughed at work, and coworkers asked, "Are you sick?" I waved them off, but inside I was scared. I Googled, black mold symptoms, toxic mold breathing problems. Every article only made me more terrified. One night I heard footsteps in the stairwell. Curious, I peeked out and saw the woman from the third floor. She stood there holding a bucket, just like me. "You've got leaks too?" she asked, and that was the first time I realized, I wasn't alone. Everyone had the same problem, but no one believed anything could be done. Back in my apartment, I sat on the bed, head in my hands, and understood, I was living in a trap. Every day was a battle, with the cold, with the water, with the mold, with my own body. And every day was another round against a landlord who pretended I didn't exist. But something was changing inside me. I was no longer the tenant who waited politely for a repairman who never came. Now I wrote everything down, collected every piece of evidence. And deep inside, one thought kept growing stronger: if he won't listen to me, someone else will make him. I didn't know yet where this would lead. But I knew for sure, the story was only just beginning. I didn't recognize myself anymore. Every morning began with coughing, every night I woke to the sound of dripping water. Sometimes I thought I was losing my mind. I sat in the kitchen wearing my coat, staring at the ceiling and thinking, how much longer can this go on? Maybe I should just give up and move out. But where would I go? In New York, rent was brutal even for windowless basements. I had no spare money. Everything I earned was swallowed by this freezing, rotting cell. For days I wavered. Inside me, two voices fought. Despair whispered, "You can't change anything." Anger shouted, "If you give up, he wins." One evening, I saw my neighbor from the third floor. She was standing on the stairs with a bucket. Quietly she said, "We've tried complaining. It never works. He doesn't listen to anyone." "What about court?" I asked. She gave me a long look and shrugged. "No one ever tried." Those words stuck in my head. No one ever tried. Maybe that was exactly why he kept getting away with it. I went back inside and sat at my table. In front of me was a folder with photos, videos, medical notes. I laid them out like weapons. Each image reminded me of nights spent in the cold, of his mocking laugh. For the first time, I said out loud, "I'll take him to court." The morning of the hearing, I arrived early and sat in the hallway. Around me were people like me, tired faces, folders of papers, private dramas. My heart pounded, my hands shook, but underneath it all was determination. When my case was called, I walked into the courtroom. The landlord sat across from me, confident, smirking. The judge asked me to present the facts. I spoke, showing photos of mold, playing the video of water dripping into buckets. I paid $1,800 a month for cold, damp, and black mold, I said. I'm not asking for extra. I'm asking for justice. The landlord stood and spoke boldly. He's exaggerating, Your Honor. He didn't take care of the place. Those stains are nothing. If he didn't like it, he should have just moved out. My blood boiled, but I kept steady. Here are the dates of my calls. Here are the text messages. I reported the problem dozens of times. And here, my doctor's note. My lungs were damaged because of this mold. The judge flipped through the documents, lingered on the medical note, and then looked at the photos. For a moment, the room was silent. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. Finally, the judge spoke. The defendant is ordered to return $1,800 to the tenant for 1 month of rent and to complete repairs within 30 days. Failure to comply will result in additional penalties. The words hit like a gavel strike. I looked at my landlord, his smirk was gone. He sat pale, biting his lip, finally realizing he had lost. I walked out of the courthouse and breathed in the cold Brooklyn air. For the first time in months, my lungs felt clear. And what about you? Would you fight your landlord in court, or keep paying for life in hell?